Hi, my name is Rami Ismail. I'm one half of Dutch independent studio Vlaanderen. Just by show of hands, do I need to introduce myself? Is there anybody who would like a short introduction of who I am and what I do? It's not a bad thing. Alright, yes, I'll do an introduction for all three of you. So my name is Rami. I'm one half of a Dutch independent studio named Vlaanderen. We are the creators of games such as Super Crate Box, Luftrausers, Ridiculous Fishing, and Nuclear Throne. Somehow all of those games involve guns, even though one of them is a fishing game, so I don't really know how that happened. Beyond that, beyond being the programmer and business guy at that studio, I travel around the world a lot, trying to work with local communities, establishing a game development scene in places where it does not exist or just has started existing. That's what I spend most of my time doing. I do about 100 flights a year. Don't do that. It's not good for your knees. No, I can deal with the laptop. Is that enough? Is that good enough? Yeah, that works? Good, perfect. Normally I do the 15-minute introduction, but that's half the time I have, so I'll skip that. So disclaimer, this is sort of something I've been thinking about a lot, but I haven't entirely 100% figured out exactly how to say it. So it's going to be a little bit rough and rocky along the road, but I hope you will join me on this little weird thought experiment I had. So it starts with when I was a kid. Are there Muslims in the room? Yeah, I'm the only one. Oh no, there's one. Hi. Assalamu alaikum, I guess. So if you're a Muslim, one of the things you need to do is pray, and technically you need to pray 5 times a day, and to pray you need to know a little bit of the Quran, right? So to be able to pray in Islam, you need to know the first surah of the Quran, the first verse of the Quran called Al-Fatiha, which is the opening surah, and that's a few lines, it's not very long. And then to properly pray you need 2 other random surahs from the Quran. Doesn't matter which ones, but you need to know at least 2 to be able to pray. So, one interesting thing about the Quran is that it's not ordered chronologically, it's not ordered in the history those verses were written. No, it's ordered in length. So the longer a surah is, the closer to the start of the Quran. Now that means that if you're a kid and you're trying to learn 2 surahs, what you do is you open the Quran on the wrong side, which you get scolded for because you're not supposed to open the Quran from the wrong side. It's a holy book, open it from the right side. But you immediately flip all the way to the back, right? Now, this is the surah that is, it's not the shortest one, but it is near the end, and it's one of the very first ones I learned to read. It's called Surah Al-Kafirun, which is Arabic for the unbelievers, or the disbelievers, and it says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ وَلَا أَنَا عَابِدٌ مَا عَبَدتُّمْ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ لَكُمْ دِينُكُمْ وَلِيَّ دِينِ. That's the full text of that surah. And it kind of translates to, in the name of Allah, say, O you who do not believe, I do not believe what you believe, and you don't believe what I believe, and I will not believe what you believe, and you will not believe what I believe, so to you your way and to my own. Right? And it's a surah that is meant to spread tolerance and understanding of other people. It's a surah that says that even if people are different, you should tolerate and accept them. And this is one of the very first things that I learned as a Muslim. So I thought, automatically, obviously, that I was very good at being tolerant, because I was 6 years old and had no idea about the world. And I actually held that belief for quite a while. Even having grown up between 2 cultures, I was under the distinct impression that I was very tolerant. And everybody else was just not, right? Obviously that was not true. It just turned out I was an asshole. And I actually was an asshole for quite some time. Now, When I started trying to be less of an asshole, this concept came up, and it's tanawa, which might sound a little bit like a foreign concept to you, but if I say that word, I want you to think about tanawa for a moment, just kind of what it evokes. So, do you want to know what it means? Does it feel like a bit of an alien concept to you? It means diversity. It is literally the word that we've kind of been talking about throughout this entire conference. Now, there's a problem I have with diversity. Not the concept of diversity, no, with the word diversity. Can you guess? It's in English. That's it. It's in English, which means that there is a language of diversity. So I want to kick against that a little. So I'm going to talk about tanawa instead. So here's another thing you need to know about me. I was raised as what a lot of people call a third culture kid, which means that I was raised in a culture other than my native culture in many ways. I grew up between the Netherlands and the Arabic world. And it was a problem I had as a kid. It was a really weird problem. It might sound unimportant, it might sound kind of quirky or trivial, but for me, as a kid, this was a huge deal. Do I finish my plate? Or do I not? There's two distinct options. Now here's the problem. The Netherlands are a relatively wealthy country. Have been for quite a while. And part of a wealthy culture is that when you offer food to a guest as a host, you can expect the guest to finish the plate. And the reason for that is that is a show of gratitude for the quality of the food. Right? You finish your plate to show that you liked it. If you don't finish your plate, people might be a little bit upset. Your host might wonder whether you didn't like it. And if you live around here, chances are that that is the way you've been brought up. Finish your plate, otherwise you don't get dessert. Now in Arabic countries, in Egypt particularly, Egypt is not a particularly wealthy country. So in Egypt, when you get food from a host, you're supposed to leave food. You know why? It's a signal that you had enough quantity of food. That your host offered you enough food for you to be full and not need more food. So, this led to many interesting situations throughout my life, but one of my favorite was when my fiance met my father for the first time, who was an Egyptian. She politely tried to finish her food. And then every time she finished her plate, my dad had this shocked expression on his face, immediately went for more food, and just smashed it onto her plate. So she ate the second plate. And after the third plate, she looked at me in quiet desperation, and I said, just leave it. She said, but I don't want to be impolite. I'm like, no, just leave it. That was it. It was such a minor difference in how we look at the world. But here's one thing I realized. These worldviews actually aren't compatible. You can't eat food and leave it. You can't finish your plate and leave some on the plate. And to be honest, this problem still haunts me. I go somewhere for food, I still stress out about how much food I should leave. Should I leave food? Should I not? Am I supposed to do that in restaurants? Australia? Am I supposed to do that in Lebanon? Beirut? Do I leave food or not? Here's the thing, Tanawa is an ideal, right? It's the ideal that we can have a diverse world, an inclusive world, a world that accepts each other, that tolerates each other, that celebrates each other. And I kind of feel that Tanawa is unachievable. And that's a big statement, and I don't actually agree with that. But I do, but I don't. Like, here's my problem. Tanawa is rarely thought of on a global scale, right? It's not something we think about as for the world. The fact that the word diversity has translations in other languages is mind-boggling to a lot of people. Have you ever considered what the word diversity is in any other language than English? Good. Now here's the thing, to know it might be unachievable on a global scale, right? You can't empty your plate and leave food on it. One of my favorite examples is I was at a panel about feminism in Saudi Arabia. It was a panel in Dubai, and there was an American panelist and a Saudi panelist. And on the panel they got in a fight. The fight was very simple. In Saudi Arabia, women and men have traditionally been segregated. They're not allowed in the same space, not in public, unless they are with guardians. And even then, it's considered more of an exception than a rule that women can be in the same space as men. So Saudi feminists, what do they fight for? They fight for the right to always be allowed in the same space as men. That's important to them. The American feminist was arguing that it was really important to have safe spaces, where people could feel at ease, and they wanted to achieve a place where they could be segregated from men. Obviously, those values clashed. And that conversation got quite heated. Now, obviously, they don't disagree about what the problem is. The problem is the same, which is men impose their value system, their beliefs on women, right? It's a patriarchal system. But the expression of that problem in different places can be opposite. The expression of patriarchy in different countries can be different. So, the language of Tanawa is a problem. Because here's the thing, if you want to talk about diversity, if you want to talk about subjects as personal as these, you require precision, right? You need precision in your words, you need precision in your vocabulary, and a lot of these issues are extremely complex. So, to reduce that complexity, to reduce how long our sentences are, we create language. We summarize large, complex issues into short words that we can then use to talk to each other. And frequently, we want to create words and languages that represent us and our culture, even though that is in a language that wasn't necessarily created by the minorities that it has to represent. So we create our own words. Now there's a word for that, for all of that, and the word is jargon. Specialized language, the ability to discuss complicated issues in shortcuts, short words. And put that jargon together is the language of diversity. Now here's my problem. Jargon in a way is antithetical to Tanawa. Because jargon requires nuance, it requires expertise, understanding, practice. And that level might be very hard for people to reach if they're not fluent in English. It might be very hard to reach for people that are outside of our communities, outside of our sphere of influence. So in some ways, achieving Tanawa in one place can actually damage it in others. When I travel, and I travel frequently, I go to a lot of places outside of the Western world, and one thing that I keep hearing over and over that just keeps breaking my heart is when I ask people about diversity, and they say, well, that's not for us. That's just a discussion people in the West are having amongst each other about us. It's not our conversation. It's not our word, it's not our language, it's not our culture. Other people have that conversation. And that hurts. That's painful. Because I so desperately want diversity to just be true, right? Inclusion to just be a thing, than to hear the very word that's at the core of it. To hear that that feels exclusionary to others, that hurts. So, all of us in this room have a privilege that's often unseen, which is we do speak the language of diversity. We speak English, and many of us probably speak the jargon, which means that we also define what diversity is. We also define what the conversation is. And others, they don't speak of diversity, they speak of Tanawa. And, they might not feel comfortable speaking at all. Because they're scared. Because this is a personal conversation. This is a conversation that hurts people if you get it wrong. So would you join that conversation if it was in Arabic and you barely spoke Arabic? Would you ever speak? Ever? Or would you sit in silence and think that this discussion is maybe just for the Arabs? We need to accept that we are not always a we, even though we would like to think of it. When we speak, language creates unseen bonds, unseen understanding. A shared language creates shared values. Well, sometimes that might not be appropriate or correct. As an example, in the UK recently, there was quite a bit of outrage because the UK government decided to ban certain forms of pornography. Right? A lot of citizens in the UK were surprised that the government could do that because they thought that they had free speech and freedom of expression. The problem was that that freedom of expression and that freedom of speech is American. But they speak the same language, and so they thought the same rules applied to them. And they do not, because the UK has its own laws. So sometimes language can trick us into believing we are more together than we are, that we are more similar than we are, that we care about the same values more than we do. And that's at least dangerous. Now, saying that we are not always a we doesn't mean that we can't share a goal together, that we can't be better humans together, that we can't respect or celebrate each other together. That's not what I'm trying to say. It means that we need to accept that our mannerisms, our rituals, our words, our histories, our existence, our people can be hostile or unknown or even unknowable to each other. Unknowable in that, how much of the internet do you think is in English? Just a guess. It's about 50%, just half of it. It means that if you only speak English, if you only use the English alphabet, you literally cannot access the other half of it. Because you would need to be able to write in a different language. If a website does not have a single word in English on it, you wouldn't be able to Google it. And believe me, many sites don't. 0.8% of the internet is in Arabic. 6.5% of the internet is in Russian. 6.3% of the internet is in Japanese. And many of those sites you can't even reach. Even though a lot of interesting discussions, a lot of interesting conversations are happening there. But they are unknowable to you. And that will be really hard to change that. But for every language, there is a culture, a history, a civilization, a moral code, societies, laws, their achievements of human progress, of human collaboration, of people working together, sharing value, sharing a goal, coming to increasingly greater achievement and progress. But for each of those, they don't speak of diversity because they don't speak in English. It's not because they don't believe in diversity, but frequently they don't talk about diversity because it is scary to talk about if you don't speak the language yet. If you just have to start learning a language. My fiancée, who is American, moved to the Netherlands and she is now comfortable ordering a cup of coffee in Dutch. She's been practicing for about half a year now. She can order one cone of ice cream with 2 scoops, chocolate and vanilla. And she can do that in Dutch, and she's comfortable ordering coffee. That's a year of learning. She's worried that she will look silly or even offensive if she doesn't. So she doesn't try. So if we really want to bring diversity, we want to fight for tanawa instead of diversity. We want to fight for that we do not know instead of what we do know. And I would like to ask of you to fight for others in the communities your voice counts in. Not ask you, I would like to plead of you to please, if your voice is heard somewhere, please also use that voice for others. Because no one else can. These are our communities. And we all have our communities, and they're all protected and gated by our shared language, our shared culture, our shared struggles. And the only way to create diversity as a global concept, as a universal concept, is not by trying to create one diversity. It's create many diversities and link between those groups to create links between those different groups of diversities, to break down barriers between different groups of diversities. It's not by creating one big culture that agrees about everything. It's not by creating one big culture that is tolerant of everybody. Before we get there, we have to create these little links between these groups that can remove the unknown. And I want to acknowledge that that is not easy, and it is not easy if you're already fighting. It is not easy if your community is already fighting for the right to be heard, for the right to exist, for the right to be accepted. But it is important. And when I started learning about this, when I stopped being an asshole, many told me, Tanawa isn't easy. It's going to take work, but it's also going to take work from the inside out. So please, keep fighting, keep celebrating, keep learning, keep reaching out, as will I. And hopefully, one day I can live up to the expectations of this surah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. That was beautiful. And now I'm going to awkwardly plug my laptop back in.
Was that too American for everyone? Come on, we all know Jeopardy.
See, I'm more familiar with the girl from Ipanema, like etc.
The remainder of the day will be everyone doing their various interpretations. There we go. Don't touch it. Don't touch it.
Okay. So, we're almost at the end. Again, that thing. Thank you or whatever. You're all incredible. You're all here for a reason. You are here because you think that diversity and inclusion is important, because you want to feel accepted and respected and acknowledged. You are here because you want to support each other and you want to be supported. And I'm so proud, and I'm sure Joshua is too, of the way that you have all carried yourselves throughout this event, and how you have upheld the principles that we all believe in so deeply, and you've empowered everyone else to do the same, and that's really incredible and impressive.
Very impressive. We have done this event for 2 years now, 2 different venues. Both venues have said, we've never had a crowd like this. We've never had a group of people who are so well-behaved, friendly, chill, all of those adjectives. And after the first year, we confidently went up to the showground and we're like, yeah, we don't have to worry about them. And they're like, I don't know about that. And then we've got amazing feedback about how there's not been any cause for concern, and it was well and truly beyond what they were expecting from everyone. So I had confidence, Liam had confidence. Thank you for living up to that confidence.
That's pretty great. So it is really important to, again, acknowledge the people that helped make this happen. So again, I'm gonna go through it. Nintendo, Big Ant Studios, the IGDA Foundation and Unreal Engine, the Academy of Interactive Entertainment, A Township Tale, Dinosaur Polo Club, A Little Sketchy, Beta Bar, CG Spectrum, Cotton Candy Cyanide, Dorky Studios, Defiant Development, Fire Monkeys, Many Monkeys, MCV Pacific, Minsuel, Mid-Boss, Mighty Games, no. NSI Games, Obsidian Entertainment, Owl Sanctuary Studios, Rev IQ, The Secret Lab, Signspace, Stirfire, Tech Outsiders, Tin Man Games, Tiande Games, Wayward Strand, and Yak & Co. Can we please have a big round of applause for all these incredible sponsors who put their time and money towards helping this event happen. So, at this point, do we want to pass it over to the audience, maybe?
Yeah. Well, I just want to take 2 seconds before we do that.
Yes, we have something very important to say.
We do want to take a second to acknowledge the original custodians of this land, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, whose land we have been holding this event on all weekend. So, thank you. And I do also want to take a second to thank the amazing crew at Feel Good Audio, who have really done an incredible job at the last minute with no budget to pull together everything, microphone, PA, projector screen. I don't know how they did it, but thank you so much. And I do also want to thank the sprites who volunteered their time. They have donated an incredible weekend to make sure that this event was possible. They deserve that round of applause and then some.
And our amazing bosses.
Oh yes.
Rami, Casey, Tanya, Stephanie, Ken, Jordan, Catherine, Adam, Kim, Felix, Eve, Lucy, Ray, Tim, Variable, and Damien, who all put their time, and a lot of them their own money and their resources to come here and share their wisdom and inspiration with this event. So thank you, all of you. We'd also like to thank our incredible speakers, all of whom donated their time and put time and energy into preparing their talks, their panels, and did an incredible job over this weekend. So thank you so much. Other special thank yous go to Tanya DePass, Jack Wilson, Cass Gray, Tim Newport, and Chris Bateman for putting in their time and energy to help us make this happen. So thank you. And before we're done with the thank yous, we have some extra very special ones. Brittany Leggins, who did an incredible job with Tabletop. Jackson in the corner, who has done all the amazing volunteer coordination. Kara Wilson, who's been an incredible super sprite and super person in all ways. And again, like all of our incredible volunteers, who, without whom this event just like, it would not have happened because we'd probably be under a desk somewhere crying. So, thank you.
Also, a big thank you to Gina, who ran the 2010 Campfire.
Thank you.
Which was our awesome chill out space for anyone who needed it over the weekend. So thank you, Gina, as well.
And if you have, sorry, yes, clap, absolutely. 2010 is one of those amazing organizations where you should put your time and money. So if you are able, absolutely look them up and lend them whatever support you can, because they're going to be very important in the next few years.
Incredible organization.
So, who was here at the closing ceremony last year? Excellent. Do you remember what happened? Yeah? Okay, so, do you want to hand over to them?
Run it over.
All right, so...
Does anyone want to take a second to raise their hand if you're comfortable and tell us what about GX this weekend you enjoyed the most? I'm sure that there's so many amazing things that you all want to say, and we don't have enough time to hear all of them. I wish we did. So keep saying them. We said this last year. Don't stop the momentum because this weekend is over. Don't stop the momentum because this is the last GX Australia. This is not a funeral. This is your springboard. And we could not do this without all of you. And we want, this weekend is maybe Oh my goodness, it makes me very emotional to know the bravery it took so many of you to overcome to get here, and don't lose that energy. There is so much time that you rally together, and then that's it. Don't stop it. Liam and I may not be doing another GX Australia. That's no reason why you can't take that and do mini GX Australias or other events that have nothing to do with that but are still awesome and queer and nerdy and everything else. So just because this is the end of this one doesn't mean that it's the end, and we don't want you to lose that energy or let it dissipate. Just take it and do awesome things and absolutely tell us about them.
And I think that it's important to acknowledge that we have created this incredible thing together. Joshua and I put the space here, and you filled it. You filled it with your love, with your friendship, with your acceptance, with your incredible vision, and your insight. And that didn't come from us, and that didn't come from this space. It came from you. And everything that you've experienced in this event, it's all you. It's all you collectively. We're a community, and hopefully you've all met each other now, and hopefully you've met incredible new people, because you are all incredible. And we've been lucky enough to get to know you over this weekend. I hope that we've managed to sort of have a quick conversation, even while we've been running around like madmen trying to sort fires. But you can take this community and this network and move forward in life. As Joshua was saying, this might be done, but this is not. This is not. This continues. This pushes forward. This fights. And I want you all to fight, because
we need it.
We need it.
It's only getting worse for people like us, and there's far too much complacency, and there's far too many times where this energy just kind of doesn't go anywhere. And now's not the time for complacency. Now is the time to say, fuck this. I'm going to stand up, and I'm going to be counted, and I'm going to be respected, and I'm not going to ask. I'm going to tell you right now, and we want you to do that.
Yeah. So thank you all so much from the bottom of our hearts for putting your time, your energy, your money together to come to this event. We've learned so fucking much. I can't even begin to tell you. And yeah, fuck. Like, what do you say after this weekend, right? Thank you. Thank you.